As an appendix to the previous video, I would like to show you two different ways how we can approach how to create the wood joinery. One is a variation of the Boolean command with a different approach, but just actually building simply the blocks we need. And the other approach is more modeling it instead of calculating. So something that's more similar to direct modeling in, for example, Fusion when you do not use a timeline. Okay, so let's get started. First, because we have this nice parent and child relationship, I can rotate my complete assembly back so it's nicely oriented by rotating my empty. Okay, then we can hide everything. And what we will do first is turn off the bevel, and then we will remove, for example, those Boolean targets. And I remove the bevel, I hide the bevel. So when I zoom in and I see the wire mesh, I only have the actual border of the object I can select. I do not have the geometry, for example, for the bevel I could by accident snap to as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the direct modeling first. So in direct modeling, that basically means we do not use an interactive way to do volume or surface calculations. We just build the detail by hand. So let's start with this one. The first step would be I have to only select the upper faces, and then I move these faces down and snap to this lower edge. Perfect. Okay, so now I have a basic butt joint, and again, that doesn't really work very well. So we want actually to recreate the same joint. In Fusion, when this would be an extrusion, I would create a new sketch on this face that is selected, and then I draw a midline. And we're going to do exactly the same. But while in Fusion we add a sketch to extrude something, in Blender we slice the geometry, so we have a new set of vertices we can extrude. We only need a line between this edge and this edge, slicing that face. And to do this, you can press K, and then you will see that the cursor will switch instantly to the shape of a knife. So when I go with the cursor now, or with the knife icon to an edge, you will see that the edge first will be highlighted in a kind of like yellow greenish color, and then there's this green dot I can move around. So the green dot basically means where I start cutting into my geometry. Now I do not click left mouse button, I'm in the K mode. I position my cursor close to the target edge where I would like to start, and then when I press and hold the control key, you see that there's a green dot that jumps to somewhere, and when I press and hold the control key, it jumps to the midpoint of that line. That is what I want. So while having control pressed, I left mouse button click, and then I can see drag out a purple line, and there's a new green dot, and then with the control key I can position and snap it to the midpoint there. Left mouse button click, and then simply press return to accept that cut. And now you see we created this new edge. And this new edge is needed so that the initial face will be sliced into two faces. And now I can press E to extrude this one up, and then with control snap, for example, to the upper edge, or based on what you have selected, the vertex. There. Okay. Now let's do the same on the other side. So A, deselect everything, move this back, snap, K, hold control key, click, click, enter, select the face, E, control, snap, left mouse button, click, done. Perfect. So now we have the same joint type. So this was very easy, specifically because the the two wood parts are vertical and horizontal. Well, here it's a little bit more tricky now because, well, as you can see, it's not really 90 degree. This is rotated. So you can model it there. So I can show you maybe what we would need in this case is something different. So Control R, we can create a loop cut. So if you see with this loop cut, there's a new set of points. And you see this loop cut goes along the rotation of the object. That's not very good, but we can select, for example, this edge and then move it down and then try to match this up. Okay, good. Maybe one more down here, and then you see again I use local space, pretty awesome. To that transformation I move it to there. Okay, good, also works. Let's hide everything else because now we have to decide where do we slice something out. So K, Control, click and click. Okay, let's go to the other side. K, Control, hold it, click, click, press Enter. And now there we have this cutout. Now these two edges which I have selected, we can remove by pressing X and then only the edge. If we click vertices, then all this is gone. I only want the edges to be gone, so delete edges. Now this is an open space, not a big deal. We can simply select this edge and press F to fill it. This edge and this edge, F, and it's filled. This edge and this edge. I could also select all four, but for a quad face that's not necessary. And F. Little demo, you have to select opposite edges because otherwise you get, as you can see, a triangle. Okay, so there's now this part modeled in. The nice thing is because we use the mirror modifier, you see the other object is updated at the same time. So that to a certain degree worked, but you see we needed to eyeball, for example, this position. We can zoom in a lot and try to do it correctly. And there, sorry, I zoomed in too quickly. There you can see here it's a tick above. There it is a tick below. So that's actually not really ideal. If, let's say, we would create this for an animation or game design, that's totally perfectly fine, but for our needs, not really. So let me now show you actually how we do the same interactive Boolean approach with Joinery, but use different objects to create the two volumes we need to cut our elements out. So let's go back to this file there, and I will unrotate this one. And let's go to here, and for example, actually, whoops, this one we can keep, but this one I will remove. Here I will remove this one and this one. This we can keep, that's for the trim at the bottom. And here I will remove this one, and the other one we can keep because again that's for the bottom trim. Okay, so let's start with the front leg. Also let's turn off the bevel so we see again only the straight edges. Make sure that the cursor is positioned at the origin of this object, so cursor to selected, Shift A, let's create a plane, and then we can scale this one down a little bit, let's say something till there. And then for the next step, I'll also turn the bevel off here, it's good to show the other object, because we want to create a volume that actually, I'm gonna explain this, starts from here and then grows this direction, and also, for example, grows up this way and grows this way. So this object, for example, we can go into edit mode. I have edge selected, move and snap to this edge. Perfect. And then we can move the whole plane up till it hits the bottom edge of this plank. Okay, so now we can go into edit mode, K, or there, click and control, click, press enter, and now we have this object. Perfect, two faces. But the problem is right now these two faces are in the same object. So what I will do now, I will separate this selected face out into a new object. And we can do this by pressing in edit mode P. And I think it is properly separate there. Okay. So when I do this now, you see this is highlighted in orange, but I only have this face left I can click. If I leave edit mode, you see now I have two objects. Okay, so this one, E, I can extrude a little bit, and I want to overbuild this nicely. Not too much, just only a little bit. So this face is perfectly flush. Here you see with this face, that is good. This face is a little bit above, a little bit in front, and also here a little bit outside. Perfect. Now I can use this one, E, and snap to the same height if I want. Bring this over a little bit. Okay, good. So you see now we make A and B as an object. So for example, let's call this one leg Boolean A, and this maybe leg Boolean B. Let's go to the leg there, and then here we say you select this one, and then you select this one, and then these two dots, and we can move to there. You see there we have the same. Perfect. Okay. Now let's go to here in here, because we have to do this part. So how do we do this now? Well, actually, these two objects here, let's select them. We can make use of. So for example, let's say Shift D, so we make a copy of them only, and we can bring them over. Perfect. Good. This one is rotated by 15 degrees. So we can select this one and say 15 degrees, and this one rotate 15 degrees. Okay, but now they're still not at the same position. So how we do this? Two ways to do this. This object has a center point here. We could say Shift S, cursor to selected, and then these two, Shift S, selection to cursor, and it moves one way. Other way, we select these two objects, and then we select the target, and then we go to location and say right mouse button click, copy all, so X, Y, and Z position of our active object to the two orange objects there. So at least now they're perfectly positioned, so that is actually good, and we have to adjust the size a little bit. So for example, this face is way too big, so maybe snap to this one. Okay, and here for example move this one up. Great. So now we can use this, for example, to cut a space out of this plank. So to do this now, let's select this one, Boolean, this one. There you see, this is cut out nicely. Maybe we could call this one then Boolean, or back like Boolean, outside. Okay, good. And what layer is this one on? The one, so this one will go to there. Perfect. So now the next question is, how do we do this one? So I will move this one maybe, oops, that was the wrong one. This one maybe to there a little bit. Okay. So now I'm going to start or face a similar problem. You see that this face that is angled has to be horizontal. Same with the bottom one. So what could we do to maybe cut this out? So what we'll do in this case is actually this. This might actually be an interesting way how to do this. And because everything is built or rotated first in object space, and then we model, we can make use of the local space. So this edge, for example, because I have a Boolean result, has to be flush with this edge. So I can go to here, select this edge, and then you see I can slide it along the local z-axis, hold Control till it snaps to the right height. Or there, very close. Don't go to somewhere else, so get close to there. Perfect. Then we can go to here and say maybe vertex snap till there. This is actually even more precise, so let's move this away, snap to this Boolean point there. Perfect. So the bottom part, so this one we move up till maybe there. Okay, and then this we move up and snap to there. Perfect. So now you see we have this object that nicely sticks out to the inside, but the top face is flush with the top face of this one, and the bottom is flush. And then here these sides are, for example, flush with this face. Okay, so let's go back to the modifier. Now we can select this one and cut it out there. Great. And this one, it's there. Maybe this one we can call backrest Boolean B or inside. It's up to you to find meaningful namings. Let's move this one down. Okay, so that's basically a similar way how to do it. Thankfully, because we have the bevel modifiers applied, we only hid them. We can reactivate them, so they're all back. The other modifiers are still working fine. What's going on there? Hold on one second, we might have to fix something there. Oh, interesting. What's going on here? Makes sense. You see, there is the modifier to cut it out, but not there. And that's because my mirror modifier is at the end here. So down, down, and down. Perfect. What's up with this one? Now we have to do the same here. So down and down. All modifiers are updated. And probably the same we have to do to this one. So the position of the modifiers is like first, second, third, fourth, and so forth. So, and when we go into Fusion, it's basically the timeline from left to right, and here it's from top to bottom. Because it's like first operation, second, third, fourth, and so forth. Okay, let's take a look how this feels. Yep, this is actually much better now. Okay. Great. So let's actually show the empty again, because the next step we have to do is to make sure that, for example, this object and this one, and then these two cubes as well, shift left mouse button, click the empty, control P to parent it. So they're parented. So when we rotate this one, they all move with it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. There. This one, what was it? 20.4. And there we're back. And then we can. Oh, the bevels are still turned on. We didn't turn them off there. Okay, so there we're back. That's basically what I wanted to show you, the direct modeling approach to how one could quickly maybe, instead of doing an elaborate modifier array, quickly build something in as a test to see if this works. But then we still want things to be more parametric or interactive. So I settled for a different approach how to build the 3D objects for the volumes for the joints. So you see, I basically got the same outcome. Nice geometry, good joints, everything perfectly calculated together, just with a different approach. And this is one of the key lessons I would like to instill in you, is there is not one, and there's not one good or right and a wrong way. They're rather complicated and more efficient ways. And what you will realize is sometimes you have a problem, and to solve the problem you simply approach it from a different creative solution. As the saying says, the many roads lead to Rome, and that is something that will come with time. The more you gain experience in digital 3D design, the more you become fluid at it, and then you have an idea how something can work out and you do it. Like, for example, I did with this video, and then later realize, there is actually a better way, quicker way, or simpler way to do it. And then because everything here is nicely interactive modifiers, we only have to readjust certain elements instead of having to restart from scratch.